Hey Bubs, this is Ghostwood. I am about to show you the first episode of my show, uh, the Time Safe podcast with Ghostwood. Basically, the idea of it is I'll have runners on discussing issues that affect their game specifically, rather than just having like a standard set of hosts that talk about like everything that happens in speedrunning. I want to hear specifically from the people who these issues affect, what they think about them. So I was really, really lucky to have one of my favorite streamers of all time, Cheese, come on for this first episode to talk about competition in Super Mario 64. Also, the mental side of speedrunning, his recent achievements, the other runners, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to give a couple disclaimers. Number one, there was like a little bit of a network issue about like three-quarters of the way in. There's like 5 seconds or so where Cheese froze. It was right in the middle of a discussion, so it seemed kind of hard to just cut it out. So I left it in there. You'll be able to tell when it happens. Also, I'm like super nervous this whole interview, like full disclosure, just because I've been a big fan of Cheeses for a couple of years now. So you'll be able to tell. I was like turning back and forth in my chair, like basically the whole time like this. But I hope you guys will find the conversation really interesting. Cheese is just a really wise guy. So I had a lot of fun talking with him. I'm excited for you guys to hear this. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna start again then. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Time Save podcast. My name is Ghostwood. Joining me today is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Cheese. What's up, bub? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready to go.
It sounds good. Full disclosure to viewers, this is our second take at this. I'm new to OBS podcasting, but we're gonna figure it out. It's all good. So, real quick, for those of my viewers who are speedrunning fans, but for some reason don't know who you are, do you just want to talk briefly about
Mhm.
what got you into speedrunning, who you are?
I am a gamer.
Woo!
Uh, I I'm a Twitch streamer by the name
Hmm.
of Cheese. And I do speedruns. I do Super Mario 64 more than anything else.
Hmm.
I had the world record for the 120 star category, and I started April of 2014. And while I've developed a career as a Twitch streamer through speedrunning, so
Hmm.
they both go hand in hand. But I'm a streamer. It's funny to think because I never know what to say. Oh, I'm a streamer first. Oh, I'm a speedrunner first. Then
Right.
streaming comes second. You know what I mean? But they both go perfectly hand in hand.
Hmm.
I can never say for sure if I'm a streamer first or a speedrunner first. But I'm both of those. Just
Hmm.
know that.
Sounds good. I think you nail that balance a lot better than other people do. I noticed. So it's one of the things I've
Okay.
always enjoyed about your stream.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, definitely. So briefly, I think most people who consider themselves like casual speedrunning fans are like first and foremost a 120 star viewer probably for Super Mario 64. What do you think makes that category like the golden standard of what a speed game looks like?
A lot of it is through. I've talked about this before, but it's a lot of it is through luck.
Mm-hmm.
Mario 64 just happens to be a very one of those games who just happens to have all of those amazing qualities.
Yeah.
Um, the meta, the skill caps, if there even is one, because we still, there's always a way to get better.
Right.
Kind of like most optimized games.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People who play Smash or competitive fighting games always compare Super Mario 64 to Super Smash Bros. Melee,
Mm-hmm.
specifically Melee, because of it. They seem extremely, extremely similar with the extremely high optimized
Mm-hmm.
skill ceiling, and then, but there's always a way to improve, and people improve by little tiny amounts, but
Mm-hmm.
they still make a difference
Mm-hmm.
as time goes on, and people keep interest because of that. It's the exact same thing with Mario 64 and 120 star being the longest category. In speedrunning, what usually happens is the longer the category, the more opportunity for optimizations
Mm-hmm.
and new things that could go into it, and that's what interests me so much about long categories. The more content, the better. I remember ZFG being asked that question about 100% in one stream, and that's how he answered.
Yeah.
He said the same thing. Well, the more content, the more interesting, and I kind of feel the same way. And I think that's what makes 120 stars so interesting ultimately. And Mario 64 just does not ever stop being more and more optimized.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a slow growth, and I think the slow, steady growth of Mario 64 is what makes it so interesting, as opposed to like games that get these huge glitches that are found and
Right.
eliminate so much of the game, and it's like, oh shoot, and now people have to look at the game at a whole new light. Whereas
Arbitrary
this
code
game,
execution.
yeah, and many other things, but this game's route and general strat orientation has been pretty much the same ever since ever. And that's what makes it so exciting, because it's like, who's gonna just get better and break the next time barrier? So
Right.
it's more about that hardcore competition style following
Than like complete innovation.
Yeah.
I see that. Cool. Yeah, what drew me to it originally was just I love like the segmented nature of like a star collecting type category, because with other games, like you can't always tell if it's your first time viewing, like how far they are into a run or what's going on, that sort of thing. But with 120 star, it's like it's 120 sets of
it's obvious.
Yeah, so that's what I really like about it. So first off, I wanted to just kind of talk about the competitive side of SM64, which has been developing in a number of ways recently. First and foremost, you just got back from an event about a week and a half ago, maybe, Break the Record Live. What was that event like for you, if you want to give a little bit of an intro to what it was?
Break the Record was the best event I've ever been to, for reasons that are different to events that are marathon based. Meaning that I've been to, I think, like 9 GDQs now. I've been to ESA last year, and the marathon style event is fantastic for the purpose of being with everyone that you talk with online, and then seeing them in real life and being able to share with them and share your game with others, right? It's that casual, loving, kind of relaxed mindset, or not mindset, but sorry, environment. Break the Record is it's a completely different feeling for obvious reasons. First of all, competition. The competition creates this new and refreshing feeling to speedrunning that's never otherwise really been done before at the scale, right? And then what was so crazy about Break the Record is that it was the first event I've ever been to, apart from Pace last year, which is kind of similar, where it's the first events that you go to where you're actually going to be competing on stream every day.
Right.
So I Break the Record every day, all day for the entire event. We were there competing. When you go to Games Done Quick or ESA and you have a run in, your run is you do one run in one of the days of the week.
Right.
For 95% of the time you're there, you're doing nothing. You're relaxing and chilling. You're doing whatever you want.
Exactly.
So Break the Record is that kind of event where you go there to perform all day, all the days, and for a specific reason, to win money, to compete against the other best players. It's a whole different environment, a whole new environment. Same thing with Pace last year, the GSE event, who I work with pretty closely as well, where we had playoffs for the leagues that we did for Super Mario 64, Odyssey, Celeste, and the top 4 of each game, they had a match every day, and then they had the finals where they had to play. That was really exciting because you had something to look forward to every day that involved being part of the main show. And that's what I really love, and I really want to encourage in speedrunning more. And Break the Record was basically the epitome of that. And of course, well, what I achieved at Break the Record was completely unexpected by myself and everyone else.
Yeah.
So that made it more insane, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in a second here. One of the things that I found so interesting about it was when I first heard about the event, I just kind of thought like, okay, so it's going to be these different people streaming. And I didn't really see like the strategic aspect that would come into play about like run completion, resets, that sort of thing. Like we saw kind of a diverse way of handling the event from pretty much all 7 of you, honestly. So what if this event happens in the future, like what kind of strategic advantages do you think you picked up on at the event that you would want to apply or like recommend other people apply if they went to one of these like grindathon type events?
For me personally, I think I realized that I play really well under pressure. That's first things first. Some people do not play too well under pressure. Some people can't play with people around them or noise around them. I always thought I was one of those people, but apparently not. Because I felt really comfortable in that environment. I felt at home.
I could tell.
In a different sense. Yeah, it was in a different sense, though. I think the pressure that is put around me of it's not really a pressure though. I don't every time I use the word pressure, I kind of feel weird because it doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
completely authentic. It's more of just the competitive environment that I was put into, where you're going there for the purpose of competing
Right.
and to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that idea just made me so much more motivated to play well.
Right.
I realized last night I was actually thinking about this in my stream where I'm at home in my comfy room by
Mm-hmm.
myself where I have no worries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was sometimes it's very difficult for me to concentrate and actually care,
Mm-hmm.
like truly care about playing well. Sometimes I find myself just comfortable talking to my stream and not caring about how I perform in the game because I'm just having a good time
Mm-hmm.
talking to my stream and not worrying about focusing on my run and
Mm-hmm.
without even realizing my subconscious is doing that and my conscious is telling me why aren't you getting runs going? You're wasting your time. But my subconscious has accepted the fact that I don't care because
Right.
I'm just having fun.
That's that
So
balance.
there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And then at the live event, it's like both of my subconscious and conscious are telling me we need to perform.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I did so well in Break the Record because I had 100% of my real self performing. Whereas when I'm home, I have maybe 20 to 30% at times, maybe sometimes I have like 80%, sometimes I have 100%, and that's the days when I play really well. But
Mm-hmm.
some days I have a complete disconnect. So I think for me it worked, the environment.
Mm-hmm.
For others it might not have worked. For others they might not have liked the pressure. But my advice would be advice, I'm not really sure what to say about advice. It's more of just like I don't want to say treat it as if you were at home doing runs because it doesn't feel like that. It
Right.
doesn't. If I'm gonna be honest, it's like wow, I'm in this place. I'm playing next to like the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna feel that, but I think my advice would be embrace it and then use that as your advantage to want to perform well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's more of kind of like a competitive mindset, where it's like, oh, I want to beat the guy next to me. It kind
Yeah, I
of
feel
comes
that.
down to like that. It's a competitive mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
speedrunners are used to this marathon style casual mindset. But when you're a competitive event, it's about adapting that competitive mindset. So my advice would be to try your best to adapt that and accept the competitive mindset. But at the end of the day, you're just friends anyway.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Yeah, I think early on it was interesting seeing runners complete these runs that were like, oh, that wasn't the perfect like hour and a half for me or whatever. But then like that ended up being the run that got them however much money. Like Punkay, for example, I think he had been trying all weekend to kind of cap the
yes,
139. So it's kind of an interesting idea of like, I guess just get familiar with how your mind feels about it and don't like sit down thinking, okay, I'm focused on finishing or I'm focusing on resetting. It's just figure out what works best for you. That's interesting. It was a really fun event to watch. I enjoyed it a lot.
yes, and I think it was just a perfect speedrunning format for competition. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree. So talking about that a little bit, how do you think like this and I guess bounties would be a somewhat similar version of this event, just like spread out over time? How do you think those two things compare with races moving forward? Do you think that like they need to coexist? Are they completely different things to you? Do both help the growth of the speed games in your opinion? What do you think?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, just so moving forward, how do you think like races compare against like these types of events or like bounties specifically? Like which one do you think is like healthier competition, or do you think that they need to coexist because they offer like a different set of things?
I think coexisting would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And like at Break the Record, for example, we had both races and bounty. Like we had the first run of the day was a race, and you had that race environment, and then after that was just runs, which is kind of like the bounty thing, right? Runs, and whoever gets the best run wins the bounty. So they had both of them. I didn't actually really think. I haven't really thought about this a lot, like the difference between the competition revolved around just doing runs by yourself, and then the competition revolved around racing somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are completely different in its essence. But I think the mindset was kind of the same. At least when I was experiencing it firsthand, the mindset for me was similar,
Mm-hmm.
like with races and then with just doing runs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's because I all I did was focus on performing well. I didn't focus on trying to beat the person next to me. I feel like a lot of people might adapt the mindset of like doing a race where they're just focusing on the other player, and I want my goal is to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
The healthiest mindset would probably be just to worry about how you perform, um, than worrying about beating the person next to you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think the coexisting is awesome. I don't see why they can't coexist, like racing and also bounties. Um, yeah, why not? I like both ideas. It's funny enough. For PACE 2020 this year, we're kind of the plan is to kind of adapt both of them, like the
Mm-hmm.
racing and the runs thing. So, no, I think they would coexist perfectly.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, the split is kind of like a race trains, or I guess rewards like consistency, safety, I suppose. Also adaptability, like being able to, because if you fall, for example, you can't just reset. You have to figure out how to get back into it. Whereas
Yeah,
the bounties, or like the bounty marathons,
yeah.
obviously reward like the high highs, that sort of thing. So I think like the argument I've heard against racing is, for some people it's like not really speed running, because speed running innately is like trying to push the time barriers, and so it
That's that's a very grassroots speedrunning mindset. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. But kind of to say like, oh, that was a 49.70 star run, so I don't care that I was faster than the guy next to me. That was a bad run. What do you? What's kind of your counter to that? I suppose.
There's a lot to talk about that, but it could also be a lot of biased opinions being shared too, because it's. But these are very opinionated, subjective thoughts, you know. So
Mm,
like, I have to make that clear. So when people hear things that I might, some opinions, some people like to go on Twitter and complain and say, "Oh, this person said this. They're totally wrong." That's
mm,
fine, but just know that it's opinions, right?
mm,
Everyone has their opinions, but I mean, what I have to say is I agree with you a lot.
mm,
It's indisputable. I think that the racing idea of knowing backup strats, knowing when to be safe,
mm,
etc. But funny enough, at Break the Record, for example, you kind of had to adapt the race mentality
mm.
because you had a limit, a time limit. You had
Right.
3 days.
Mm,
So in Easy Skates Bounty, where there was no time limit, it was just the first person to get 138.
mm.
You're playing at home. You're gonna do the strats you always do. You're gonna just try to get a good run. If the run is a little bit bad, you're gonna reset because you get triggered.
Right.
But at Break the Record, you can't do that because you have a short time limit. You have to
Mm,
you have to realize, okay, I made a big mistake, but this run could still be good.
mm.
I could still get first place. I have to continue, and I have to decide, if I'm gonna play safe or not, and secure a good time. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in your mind like that, and I think it was so it's it's the ultimate form of competition for speedrunning,
Mm.
because there's every aspect going on at the same time, and it's up to you to decide what's the best option,
Mm.
and that's what competition is. When people are playing Smash Bros. And they have to figure out then and there what is the best option for me to not get gimped, or
Right.
how am I gonna survive here? I'm off stage. What
Mm.
is the decision I make? Same thing in speedrunning. You mess up Pillowless for the second time. You start freaking out. At home, you would have resetted,
Right.
right? This run sucks. You mess up Pillowless the second time, but you realize if I reset now, I only have like 2 hours left to get a run going. I lost a bit of time, but the run is not too bad. So what do I do?
Mm.
You know? And I love that. That's the idea of competition, and I think this format just works perfectly for speedrunning. I do want to mention the whole grassroots speedrunning idea, which you mentioned about how a lot of people think that's the essence of speedrunning is breaking time barriers, finding glitches in games, and
Mm.
working on a game uh, to achieve those goals. Right.
Mm.
Um, the introduction of competitive speedrunning would never take away grassroots speedrunning.
Mm.
It it's not an either or situation, and I realize a lot of people think that it is. There doesn't have to be an either or. There
Right.
doesn't have to either be grassroots speedrunning forever or only competitive speedrunning is going to take over. That's not
Mm.
the thing. there's absolutely no reason for both of them not to coexist.
Mm-hmm.
They work perfectly together, So
Right.
that's what I have to say,
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Speaking of like you mentioned trying to secure a good time at the event. Obviously, you had a decent time, an all right run.
Uh-huh.
The 138.54. What was that like for you sitting there like around? I guess my first question is what time in the run did you realize like how potent it was? Like about when did you realize that's the run you were on?
I don't think I ever realized anymore
Mm-hmm.
when a run is like because I'm so used to now losing runs anywhere you could possibly think of
Right.
that, well, I understand. I have a mindset now where, well, and it's also common sense if you think about it deeply. A run is never run until it's done, like,
Right.
because it's the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
especially a game like Mario 64, everyone knows that the hardest part of the game is at the ending. You could reach Bowser throws minus a minute and then lose it from just missing Bowser throws because
Mm-hmm.
you're nervous easily. Like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
happened to me countless times. So I think I developed a really strong understanding for the game that might help me too in that regard, where I never treat a run as if it's going to be what I could,
Mm-hmm.
because I know very well what could happen. So I don't think I was ever at one point. I never reached a point in that run where I realized, um, like, the switch came on and like, oh shit, this could be world record.
Yeah.
So I better. It was always just, I knew what pace I was on, and I was always just like, that meme. Oh shit, here we go again.
Right. Yeah.
It was literally that feeling every time I finished a stage or a
Mm-hmm.
split and I went on to the next one. It was kind of like that meme playing in my head. Oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
here we go again. Just same process. Maintain control. Just play as good as you can, and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what the mindset was. Um, yeah.
Cool. Good deal. What do you think made that run like particularly strong? Do you remember good early, good middle? Like where do you think it kind of cemented itself as such a strong run? You've had the chance to go back and watch it now,
Uh,
right? I think we
oh
watched it on
yeah.
stream at one point.
Pl-
Yeah.
from the ending of Basement onward is when the run started becoming very strong.
Mm-hmm.
I left Basement at a good time after LLL, and I think after LLL I had that mindset where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, yeah, established, this is a good run, so let's see what happens. And then usually what you start thinking of after LLL is Vanish Cap and DDD 100, because those are the hardest parts. And after 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 LLL, I had good CCM, good BBH, and
Mm-hmm.
then a good DDD 100, and I was minus 48 seconds because the splits I was running against, I lost like 45 seconds in DD 100.
Mm-hmm.
So after DD 100 is when it was like, oh, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
um, this this has a potential. I think that's what probably when I thought, okay, this is the first time that I'm actually been on world record pace now since the event started.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think, oh shit, this is the world record, or else. It was just like, okay, well, here's our first chance, so
This
let's
is a
try to
run, right?
let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So if there's anywhere I kind of had that thought was after D100,
Mm-hmm.
and then I didn't mess up Fire C. Things kept going well, and I was like, okay, cool. And I
Mm-hmm.
just maintained that. I just maintained that mindset throughout the rest of the run.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to Rainbow Ride, I started shitting my pants, but
can
that
I
happened.
can I get one more LLL real quick before we move on?
Yeah.
LLL.
LLL.
I love it so much.
Why do people get? Why do people think that's so funny? Do
Your
I say it
accent.
weird?
No, you put a nice little
LLL.
yeah.
LLL.
Well, like
LLL.
when you say in the middle of a sentence, you're like LLL. It's like a
LLL.
whisper. It's like a
It's a
cologne
sexy.
commercial. Yeah. uh,
LLL by cheese.
do you what do you think like about that run kind of leaves? Because I know you said that you're kind of at the point now where I think with past runs it's kind of like that was a really good time, and I don't know how long it'll be before like I'm even ready to take on that sort of time again. Like the first 138, for example, for a while there, I know you were kind of saying that was like you're just kind of chasing something that is hard to catch up with. So, what are kind of some of the weaknesses of this run where you're like, oh, this is no problem, I can pop that off again any day now? Because like the day afterwards, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but like the day afterwards, you were like
Yes.
45 seconds ahead or something at one point. So, where does some of that weakness come from?
Where's the weakness from the run?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the 138.54, I just had lots of small mistakes. I
Mhm.
remember Basement having a lot of small mistakes. There was one big mistake in HMC 100. I just remembered actually. I failed. I lost like 10 seconds in that start because I did something kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Um, Apart from that, the run just had lots of small mistakes.
Mhm.
Um, and then upstairs I think THI and TTC were both really bad. Apart from that, the rest of it was okay. But yeah, it's hard to really kind of like solidify what's like, oh, this is my weak spot, because one run could be I could have a run where one stage is bad, and then the next run that stage goes amazing, and then another stage is bad.
Right.
It's like at this point I don't have any weak spots in the game. It's all about if that run specifically has a weak spot in
Yeah, I feel
certain
that.
stages.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things, and I guess this is just kind of like proof to me about how much farther we have to take in this category. Watching it the next day with your chat, every time any little mistake happened, like everyone was like, "I cannot believe this run got world record." Like, it was because it was just one more little thing after another.
Yeah. People tend to have that idea because world record in a hard game means that it's a perfect run.
Right.
It's very easy to think that like the human mind works like that. Like
Mm.
it's a seemingly impossible feat because it's so difficult. So if it's a newer record, that means it's perfect.
Mhm.
It's insane. But no, the reality is the game is so hard that's
Right.
impossible to not make mistakes.
Mm.
But it just all depends on if you get the run that didn't make as much mistakes as the world record.
Yeah.
That's when you get a new world record. Because there's no such thing as a perfect run. With that said, every time I watch over my world records, I always say to myself as well, I can't believe I made that much mistakes. Oh my
Right.
god.
Yeah.
But it's part of like an ego thing.
Mhm.
It's all this ego where I think that oh, look how much mistakes I made. I could totally destroy this. It's my mind thinking that, oh, I could do way better than this. But the truth is that my runs are gonna have mistakes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
I got the goal time that I wanted for the game I run last fall, and it was like pretty much perfect except for one stage I had like a 10-second mistake. And I told a friend of mine who watches every time I stream, like, I don't know, I think I'm gonna do attempts again. He was like, please don't put yourself through that. It's fine. It was just one little mistake. Let yourself have it. I was like, okay.
How long is the category of the game?
It's like 26 is my current record, so yeah.
26 minutes. Yeah. So, and then there's a factor of the longer the run, the more mistakes it's gonna have because it's longer. It's a lot longer, so you have more chances to make mistakes.
Yeah. One more question before we move on from Break the Record. Did you get to watch the chat very much during that weekend?
I did actually. I had the chat open on my second monitor. If you look at our record video, you see me looking to the side quite a bit, and it's just me looking at. It's a calming. It's a calming mechanism.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Checking out the chat and just kind of distracting myself mildly. It kind of gives me this kind of sense of calm, or at least I think it does. There's no stamp of approval, but for
Right.
me, I think it calms me down. And I see a lot of other runners like Punkay. I feel like Punkay's way of trying to relax himself is like he has a towel that he uses to like wipe his hands or to like rub his arms a bit. And I think that's his coping mechanism. And my own is like I like to look at chat sometimes and just glance and see what people are saying, and because I'd already have like a towel thing. I'd already get sweaty hands, so I'd already worry about that. Yeah.
What did you think about the chaotic meddling of all 7 of like the big runners communities? Like the chat at one point I think was just message deleted over and over because of all the different pastas.
90% of the time, all the chat was just Liam King's emotes. It's like we were all laughing at kids. We were like, "Why is it just Liam's emotes like all day on his chat?" It's like it was so funny because we were like, "Liam, you literally have a cult. Like Liam has a cult following
Right.
that goes on the chat when Liam is at an event and just spams like Liam's stick, Liam emotes, and it's like, oh my god." Liam has a certain personality where it's a laugh at the streamer personality, but with good intention. Similar to Clint Stevens. I always thought Clint and Liam have this similar kind of vibe where it's like chat loves to make fun of them, but they don't really care. And that's what we saw at the event. People just spamming Liam emotes. And then I realized when I got good runs going, people would start like saying, "Oh my god, cheese," and pose like all my Ches emotes. Yeah, and seeing that just kind of like calmed me down during the run. And it's relaxing to me.
Hmm. My favorite part was I had started putting every time, because your like the question of your run being verified came up like 40 times within like the first
Yeah.
2 hours of the run. So I just started putting like in parentheses unverified every time someone mentioned that. And at one point someone was like, "Wow, Ghost cares a lot about this issue." But I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, and
The,
then the memes started.
and then on the third day it was they had started cleaning out all the copy pastas, so I'd see people like trying to sneak them in. So like the copy pasta from Liam's chat about,
BBH.
yeah, BBH. When it started getting deleted, I would see people just say like, "I'm gonna go play with paper clips now. This stage is extremely boring." Like any way they could like sneak it in, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was fun.
So,
Okay, so going back to the 138, where do you kind of see the future of this category at this point? What do you think is like the gridlock moving forward? Because the cool thing is all the runners, I believe, except for maybe Punkay, have been streaming attempts again since the bounty ended.
right.
Oh, and Para. But what do you think that the category is going to stay as potent as it is, or I mean, as it has been without this money on the table, or like one of the questions I have here is how many more 138s do you think we'll see this year? Obviously, that's pretty much just a guess, but where do you kind of see the category moving right now?
Well, for the first thing I see is someone else getting a 138.
Hmm.
And the cool thing is that a lot of people could get it.
Hmm.
Simply Liam and anyone else who's playing from the top 7. Punky and Paracusi aren't really playing right now, so I don't. If they start playing close to, if they start playing again, then they could definitely get it.
Hmm.
So my most exciting, the most exciting thing that could happen for me
Hmm.
would be if for someone else to get a 138. And where do I see the category going this year? Well, it's a hard question to answer because I mean the real answer to give is which is what I usually end up saying is no one knows, but all we know is that nothing would be improved if no one was playing the game.
Right.
So basically it all comes down to if people are playing the game, then things would happen.
Hmm.
If more people and more people start playing, then more
Mhm.
things could potentially happen. So the probability increases with more gameplay time
Hmm.
and people playing. So that's what I could say. I don't think 137 is happening this year because we're just not at that level. We're now reaching the 138. We're now reaching the 138 stage, kind of like how when 139 started, people started getting the 139s and it became more and more of a thing. Now
Hmm.
I can die 3 times and miss 2 out of throws and still get 139. You can't do
Right.
that 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
2 years ago, it's like, holy shit, 139 happened for the second time ever.
Hmm.
Now it's the 138 stage.
Hmm.
Is 137 possible? Yes. Now the chances are extremely tiny.
Hmm.
And that's all that could really be said for now. But my personal goal, I want to get a one. I'm in 138.
Hmm.
But I'm not rushing anything. I'm very 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 relaxed right
Hmm.
now, especially after break the record. Like I went to break the record. I broke the record.
Right.
So now it's time to relax and just chill. I'm just chilling out. I realized yesterday I was kind of pushing myself to do 120 star,
Hmm.
and I my mind wasn't in it. So I realized, if I don't feel like my mind is in it today, then don't do 120 star.
Hmm.
Don't worry about it. My stream will still be my stream.
Hmm.
And I need to stop worrying about losing money on Twitch because I'm not doing 120 star. Because
Hmm.
yes, 120 star makes me the most money on Twitch as well. But sometimes you just have to relax. You
Hmm.
can't force it. It's not healthy. So I'm very happy with what's going on right now in my
Hmm.
life and streaming. So I'm not going to push myself at 120 star.
Hmm.
With that said, I'm trying. I haven't lost motivation at all, and I'm trying my best to find ways to not lose that motivation.
Hmm.
To maintain an authentic motivation for 120 star, but not to rush myself either, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I guess it's just kind of very telling of speedrunning like as a fandom, like that one person has a 138 5x and now it's like, oh well, when's the 37 coming? It's like we're hardly even in 38 right now, but uh,
Yeah.
um
Yeah,
what
it's People are gonna ask those questions, and the difficult thing about being a streamer is having to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
And also, being a streamer, you can't just tell people to fuck off. You
Right.
can't be like,
Yeah.
no, shut up. Like, I've been asked that question a billion times. You have to just deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favorite thing I've ever seen you do in response to like a frequently asked question was you just kind of like leaned forward and you're like, "Well, I answered that like 5 minutes ago." I was like, "Oh, poor cheese." Yeah,
It's hard, man.
I bet when you got the 40-second ahead run the next day, like in my head, I was like, "Oh God, all this is gonna do is just start this conversation all over again about how close we are to the next minute and stuff like that." But to me, that was like, oh, this is just another good run. And like you said, you've lost so many to Bowser stars at this point. It's kind of hard to look at one run that made it like an hour in and be like, this is, see, we're perfect right now, because it's still
that run was sick though. Like,
yeah, it
holy
was
shit.
cool. It was a lot of fun.
I cannot fathom, because I was on that day I was so tired that I was getting sick. My body was getting sick. I had a stomach bug. I had anxiety because I was not sleeping. I slept. I talked about this before, but I slept like 3 hours every night on that event. I was to a point where I was getting sick. I was so tired, and I pulled out a run like that, and I was like, how am I doing this? Like, with no sleep. It was just weird. It kind of proved that you don't always need sleep to really play well in a game that is this hard, because we've always kind of talked about that, like, oh, it's impossible to play Mario seriously when you're tired. It's impossible to get a world record at a live event. Like, those two things that we always thought were like, you can't. It's exactly what I did at the event. That's why I still feel so overwhelmed by it, because I just can't believe it actually happened under those circumstances.
When you sat down to do runs that day, I literally was like, why is he even, because you had been talking about how sick you were, but that just proves.
Honestly, because I just felt bad not playing at all that day, and I didn't want to look like that
arrogant, I guess.
Arrogant.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, I got the newer records. I'm not gonna worry about playing today. No one's gonna beat that.
The king's gonna sit here and watch the peasants.
Too much of a legend for that shit.
Yeah, I feel that. Kind of talking about like that burden that you mentioned of the, I guess, pushing yourself, trying to maintain motivation. Where do you think it crosses over from something that's like exciting to like the burnout moments? Last month there was kind of a decent discussion in our community about the mentality of running after Simply's no reset moment, where he kind of felt that like euphoria when it finished, and you said that was something that you hadn't really been able to experience yourself. Where do you think that burden comes from? Do you think it's like self-inflicted for you personally? Do you feel like it kind of comes from community expectations, or is it just naturally part of the hobby?
So what you're asking yourself is why you think I have not reached that moment or experienced that?
What causes the burnout that kind of like makes you want to feel that? Because at the time, I remember you were having kind of a hard time getting runs off the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not a burnout feeling. It's a mental thing. Burnout is mental, but it's not a burnout so much so as it's a few things. I don't know where to start. It's a very, very deep mental bridge that you could only really understand if you are putting that much time and effort into a game for a really long time. But I mean, you speedrun as well, so you could probably relate to the idea. But it's basically what happened to Simply after doing that run, he kind of had this euphoria or epiphany, and the epiphany was revolved around the idea of remembering what he's playing Mario for, right? And that's what we talked about after we finished our stream. Was like, we kind of asked each other, why do we do this again? And I think what happened to Simply was that Simply has not played the game for like almost 3 years. He had the hand issues, the carpal tunnel issues, and tendinitis, and he stopped for a very, very long time. And he came back only like 2 months ago. And the fact that he came back so strong, got an insane PB, and was competing so high again, everything just came all at once for him.
Right.
And I think when he had that moment was just him realizing or remembering again, like, holy shit, why was I doing this 40 years ago? I'm here now, and I'm doing this, and there's a lot more attention. I'm doing really well, but I feel so pressured now
Mm-hmm.
because everything happened so fast, and I think that pressure made him reach the point where he just kind of broke down. And in the breaking down process, he thought about what he was doing, and I think he remembered. He realized, he started this one day because he thought it was fun to play his old game again,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the essence of speedrunning, and that's what we realized. This is why we do. Why we had to ask ourselves, why do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because we spend so much energy and time getting frustrated. We spend so much energy worrying about getting a good run,
Right.
getting frustrated when the run is not good, resetting all day. And I think that's what happened. He got so fed up of that mindset that when he had that really bad run, like, with the race against me,
Mm-hmm.
he decided to fight through the pain, which is all ego basically, which
Right.
is something else to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to fight that ego. He completed the run after feeling so bad because his ego built up so much by the end of the run that it was just, he felt completely overwhelmed. But
Mm-hmm.
he fought it. He fought it. He finished the run, and I think that's what made him break down. It was a happiness breakdown, and that's what he
Right.
called it,
Mm-hmm.
because he was so happy that he was able to fight the ego for the entire run and actually finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I feel to do all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
even resetted that race.
Right.
Even though I was winning, when I fell down twice in class stage, I reset it, even though I was still gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
Because I succumbed to the ego. I was like, oh no, this run is shit now. I don't care about finishing this run because I'm too good at the game and I'm a fucking legend.
Mm-hmm.
That was what's going on in my head. And I reset it. And guess what? I felt like shit when I reset it.
Right.
Because I knew very well that I accepted defeat.
Mm-hmm.
And then simply finished the run, and then he had this euphoria moment, and I understood exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
When he told me, I was like, this makes so much sense. And then ever since then, we've been talking a lot about trying to fight ego and speedrunning and getting a better mentality. And that's, I made a YouTube video a few days ago talking about my understanding of ego and speedrunning.
It was
and
very
streaming.
apt, by the way, for everyone
What
listening
is
to this
apt?
podcast. Oh, it's smart, like on the nose, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I've been
I
using that
appreciate
word my whole life. That's fun. Like,
Never heard of that. Apt?
I don't. Yeah, like I could pull up.
Is
the
that an
dictionary.
American thing or like an internet thing?
It's just like a word. I don't know. I hear my mom say it a lot. She's
Wow, I've never heard of that.
a wise
I
person.
like it. Very
It
apt.
just like I guess well put into words. Basically, what I'm
Okay.
trying to say is, for anybody listening to this episode, you should go watch that video because it was very wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it was necessary to talk about because it was affecting me personally and for other speedrunners who are having trouble, which I've received so much messages since I uploaded that video. Just people saying exactly that. I resonated with the video. It made so much sense, and that's what me and Simply been talking about, and that's what it means to me. It's a lot. It's a few things. It's all the negative thoughts and feelings are based around ego.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be based around tiredness or burnout. Burnout is a different factor. Burnout is the idea of playing too. It's forcing yourself too much. It's gamers know that term, being burnout. Burnout is when you play way too much and you start hating the game, and you're like, no, I can't do this anymore. I'm burned out. I need to stop. That is the physical burnout feeling. It's when you just play too much. You're going too hard. Like there were some days when during the bounty where I was so fixated on not losing the bounty that I would stream like 9 hours. It's just, that's too much. That's unhealthy, and I would experience burnout after doing that for like a month straight. But what Simply experienced was not burnout. It was an ego thing. It was battling the ego, and the ego. What it does to you in speedrunning, when you build up so much of that ego telling you that this run is not worth it, or you need to get mad because you shouldn't have made that mistake. When that builds up more and more, it makes you extremely emotional because you're consciously trying to fight that.
Right.
Which is yourself. You're fighting yourself. You're telling yourself, shut up, please stop worrying about it being a bad run. Can I just finish the run and have fun? Because you feel like you can't. You can't accept that.
Yeah.
And the fact of reality is you can.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's cool seeing like a a higher level player be able to tackle these issues. I think you might be cutting. No, you're fine. Sorry. It's cool to see like a higher level player tackling these issues because usually I think I come from like League of Legends competitively as a background, and I usually see like a disconnect of this is like the smart player and this is like the good player, and a lot of the players who are like technically skilled kind of have a reputation of being like I don't know, apes, I guess is the term that our community uses. But
Okay.
yeah, it's cool seeing in speedrunning. I think that's just kind of what makes it special, like as a competitive gaming outlet, or not even like competitive, but like a grinding gaming outlet, to see like how much the psychology of it plays into like your own skill, I suppose. I think that you as a speedrunner have to be kind of in touch with your own mental well-being in order to be able to pump out good times just
You
because.
have to.
Mhm,
There's no doubt about it. You absolutely have to.
mhm.
It's not even a question. It's well, especially if you're a top level speedrunner at a
Yeah.
game that requires, because it's competitive. It's a e-sport. It's a
Mhm.
mental sport, more so than physical, obviously, because it's video games. But of course, you have to be. If you are doing bad mentally, if you're sad, if you're depressed, if you are pissed off at somebody and it's on your mind, you can't sit down and focus on the game for an hour and 40 minutes.
Right.
You're gonna get frustrated at the first thing that happens, which is
Mhm.
what happened to me last night. That's why I had to cut off. But it happens sometimes. When it happens, then you go back the next day and see how that feels.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
no rush.
definitely. One last kind of broad topic before we call it.
Okay.
What is the relationship for you with the other runners like? You mentioned how you enjoyed BTR because it was just kind of like sitting down next to your friends and competing. What is the relationship like for you guys? Do you kind of consider it like a group, or do you have like individual relationships with everyone? Or
I have individual relationships, mostly with Simply. Of course, Simply has been my best friend,
mm,
my closest friend since we met in
mm,
October 2014 online. We found each other's streams when he came back to the game, and we just Skyped call ever since, and now
mm,
Discord. We practiced together. We both got good at the game together.
mm,
When we started playing together, we had like 150s and 120 star,
mm,
and we got all the way down to this point um, together.
mm,
We experienced each other getting good at the game together, and as a result, became best friends.
mm,
We know everything about each other. I've been to his house 5 times because he lives very close to SGDQ.
mm.
So I always visit his house. I know his whole family. Um, his mom has kissed me on the cheek. So that's how close we are.
You're blessed, blessed by Simp Mom.
uh, and then Punky as well. Punky was kind of like we had a trio, me, Simply, and Punky for quite a while of
Hmm.
best friends. Punky is kind of we don't talk to Punky as much, but we're still as close friends. So when you go to live events, we're still all always together.
Hmm.
Punky has found a lot of other friends as well, so he spends a lot of time with them as well, like Paracusia, Artemis, and some viewers in his chat too. Leah, the other players have more like new relationships.
Hmm.
Liam is a much newer player, so me and Sibley we talk to Liam from time to time, and when at live events we'll hang out with him.
Hmm.
Same with D Whatever and Tago and those guys.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you kind of see as like the strengths of the different players at the top? Do you
The
guys
the what? Sorry.
the strengths of each of you like
Strength.
do you think it's kind of like, oh, this is just like seven good players and any given day one of us will be better, or do you like look at them and say like, oh man, like Tago has this one thing that I really admire and want to have myself, or kind of the
Are you
same
talking
stuff?
about mostly revolved around the game or just personality traits and stuff as well?
I mean, I guess involving like streaming too, if it's like a
Okay.
personality trait, but it could be
Right.
like this stage, it could be something that's like this is a good stage, or like for like this part of their mindset, or this aspect of their play is very strong.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like Tago. I envy a little bit of Tago's mindset. Tago
Mm-hmm.
has a very solid mindset when it comes to speedrunning. He finishes a lot of runs.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he enjoys the process of finishing runs and just seeing what happens kind of
Mm-hmm.
mindset. And I envy that a lot because even though I talk about this ego and all this stuff, I myself am still trying to find a way to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And and use it for good, because I still reset all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I can never finish a run unless it's good. Like I still, even though I talk about, oh, that's people need to fight that ego, I myself don't do it yet. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still trying to fight it. I'm still trying to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
and I envy that a lot from Tago. What I envy from Liam is just the sheer ability to play the game for 10 hours a
Yeah,
day.
for sure.
Crazy. I don't know. I fear for Liam sometimes. I fear that if he keeps doing this, he would experience what we talked about, burnout,
Mm-hmm.
which is playing too much of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Liam is going to reach one day where he would absolutely stop and never play again, because
Mm-hmm.
he's going to get burnt out. He's doing too much, and I think it's unhealthy. But I mean, all I could hope is that he figures it out himself.
Mm-hmm.
That he, or if he is able to play for 10 hours a day for God alone knows how long, then
Right.
cool. Then lucky him.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
it is a bit dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I envy Punk's ability to just always clutch out a good run.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Break the Record was very surprised, I was very surprised, along with everybody else, was very surprised that Punk did not perform as well as we thought he would at Break the Record.
Mm-hmm.
And with that said, Tago got second place over Punky, which he deserved a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really exciting because no one expected Tago to get second place at all. I didn't expect Tago to get second, so that was really
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yeah, but I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Do you watch? I'm curious. Do you like how much time do you spend like watching other people's attempts when you're not running yourself?
All the time.
Really?
I have Twitch open. When I wake up, Liam is streaming 100% of the time. So when I wake up, I would open Liam's stream, and then if you like now, I have Simply Stream on the second monitor right now. Simply Stream is always open.
Right.
I would check in. I would have Tago on another tab, or anyone who's if Power is playing, whoever. I would always have them open. And I kind of only been watching Mario 64 streams for like that since the bounty has come out. Kind of. I'm only watching Mario 64 streams. Yeah. So now more than ever, I always watch the other players. Before, not that much, but now, yes.
Here's the tough question then. Are you a pace leech? Do you dictate which stream you go into based on like who's on the run, or do you typically just...
No, I still keep that stream open anyway. What I would do is if Simply loses a run, I would
just like click around.
I would keep a stream open, but open another tab and click around, or just get up and go somewhere else and come back later. Yeah. I won't leave the stream. I would always be sitting in the stream.
Right.
But this is why I totally sympathize. Yeah, I sympathize with the pace leeching kind of viewers, because I understand completely. As a streamer myself, I understand that because I do it myself. So I reached a point where I totally get it. I can't get mad at those people, because I know exactly. I know the feeling. So when I inevitably lose 500 viewers when I reset in BBH or something,
right,
it's like, yeah, I know it's gonna happen, and I've totally made peace with it. I don't care anymore. I used to care a lot more. I'd be like, why do people do that? But no, not anymore, because I totally understand. It's just, yeah.
I think Break the Record really brought that out in the worst for me personally.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, especially for myself, I think like going into that event, it was just like whichever of the 7 was streaming, that's who I'd watch. But now it's like, I don't know, I'm still on that hype of like seeing all those good runs happen and stuff. Every time I'm like clicking between streams and it's like just lobby after lobby, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna do something else. But
it's hard, and as a streamer too, sometimes we think about it. Sometimes we think, oh God, my viewers are probably not enjoying this. I need to play better now, and that could translate negatively and add to your like ego, or you could take it positively and reinforce yourself to try to play better, and it could actually work.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I can't think of anything else. So you mentioned the ego thing. What was the name of that video for anybody who might be interested in checking that out?
It's the title of my video was just
like
My
ego and
f-
speedrunning or something.
my thoughts on ego and speedrunning and streaming, I believe. You could just go to my YouTube channel, which is Cheese Speedrunning.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. I'm logged into my wrong account. I got so scared for a second. I was like, where's my YouTube account? Cheese Speedrunning is my my channel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the top videos. Oh god. My thoughts on ego and how it's impacted speedrunning and streaming.
Okay.
Because I specifically talk on like how it impacts me and others
Mm-hmm.
in actually speedrunning. But I think it's a start. That is just like a start of many ideas revolving around mentality in
Mm-hmm.
speedrunning. Ego is one thing, and then there's there's other things. We talked about burnout.
Right.
There's mental strength, um, tiredness, being sad about something, all that kind of stuff. Like, I like to talk about these things, and I try my best to help the speedrunning community in these things. And making a video about ego specifically, I thought was important because it was something hot in my mind, and I wanted to put it out there, so I just made a quick video
Mm-hmm.
of talking about it. And I feel like I might make some more of these kind of videos, but with other topics, talking about mental stuff in speedrunning. Shout outs to Dr. K, of course, Healthy Gamer, because his videos influenced me to want to explore these things and try to better myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I made this video in the first place. But yeah.
Good deal. I think it's really goofy for me to pretend that someone would have heard of me but not you. But just in case someone's listening to this episode and doesn't know who Cheese is, you can find him on Twitch at twitch.tv/cheese. What are kind of like your immediate plans for the stream? You said that you didn't really want to force yourself to play 120 right now, so do you have any thoughts?
I know. I actually am trying my best to not plan my stream as much. I'm planning. My hopes is to take every day as like whatever I think about doing on that day, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like tonight, I'm thinking of actually starting my stream and just having a just chatting session where I'm just chatting with my stream
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit. And then I want to maybe continue the ROM hack that I was playing with Simply because I was actually enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try to finish off the game or yeah. And if I feel like doing 120 star later, I'll try some of that, because sometimes when I start playing and I start getting in the groove, I just feel like pulling out some 120 star. So it might happen tonight as well.
Perfect. So if you want to tune into variety streamer Cheese, whatever he's feeling, thank you again for coming on, Bub. I really appreciate it. I had fun.
No, thank you. I appreciate that too.
So thank you everyone for watching. Check back in on this feed or on this YouTube channel. I have, hopefully, assuming everything continues to go according to plan, I think I'm gonna have Shift on next, the SpongeBob SquarePants speedrunner. So make sure to tune back in for that. I am Ghostwood. You are Cheese. Thank you guys for watching.